So, today we're going to talk about something that might sound a little out there at first: the hidden rules that connect the video games we play to the politics all around us. It's a pretty wild connection, I know, but stick with me because we're about to uncover the powerful game mechanics that are, believe it or not, secretly shaping our world. Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question that, yeah, it sounds like the setup to a very weird joke. What in the world could a classic arcade game from 1981 possibly have in common with a modern political campaign? The answer, it turns out, reveals something really profound about how stories work, what motivates us, and just how we make sense of everything. To even begin to answer that, we first have to look at the building blocks of any story, any game really, its rules. So let's start there. Let's decode how games actually work their magic on us. It all boils down to this one core concept: the narrative mechanic. Now, don't think of this as the plot or the characters. Think of it as the engine that drives the whole thing forward. It's that one simple instruction that tells you what your goal is and, crucially, why you should even care. It's kind of like the invisible hand guiding your every move. A perfect example? Let's look at one of the most famous games of all time, Donkey Kong. The designer, Shigeru Miyamoto, he didn't need some super complex, multi-layered plot. Nope. All he needed was one incredibly powerful narrative mechanic: save the princess. That's it. Every single thing you do, jumping over barrels, climbing up ladders, it's all driven by that one single, crystal clear mission. All right, so we get it. A simple rule can drive a whole game. Now, we're going to take a pretty sharp turn, away from the arcade and right onto the campaign trail. And you're about to see how these exact same principles are at play. And here it is. This is the big aha moment. On the left, you've got your game mechanic. On the right, a political slogan. And here's the thing, they function in almost the exact same way. Both are simple, they're powerful, and they give you a clear goal that motivates an entire audience to act. You see, the real power is in how they work. A slogan like "Build the Wall" isn't just a phrase. For its audience, it's a game rule. It's simple, it's symbolic, and it's instantly understood. And as the source material points out, whether it's actually true or not, that's totally irrelevant. What it does is promise to change the world to match what its followers already believe, building this metaphorical wall in the head. So why is this so incredibly effective? Well, it taps into this powerful idea about who we are as people, a theory called Homo narrans. It basically says that we are, at our very core, storytellers. We make sense of the world not just through cold, hard facts, but through the stories we choose to believe in. A powerful narrative mechanic, whether it's in a game or in politics, gives us a simple, compelling story to grab onto. Okay, so we've connected the dots between video games and political slogans, but this raises an even bigger question. Can these mechanics do more than just persuade people? Can they actually be used as tools to create real, tangible change in the world? So let's take this a whole step further. Let's look at games that are deliberately designed not just to entertain us, but to act as actual tools for social change. And this is a really fascinating shift in thinking, right? The whole goal of these games isn't just to get a high score or defeat the final boss. The goal is to actually change how we think, how we feel, and how we act in our day-to-day lives. Check out this incredible art project by Marguerite Jarman. So during the pandemic, she took a concept straight out of game design, the invisible bounding box that defines a character's personal space, and she made it real. She literally wore this physical frame out in public, turning the abstract rule of social distancing into this tangible, kind of playful, and really thought-provoking experience. And these interventions can get even more precise, more scientific. There's this game called Mindflock. On the surface, it just looks like a simple trivia game. But hidden inside its questions are all these psychological strategies, scientifically designed to make players more likely to step in and intervene in situations of sexual assault. It's a finely tuned tool that uses game mechanics to literally reshape social behavior. So, we've seen game rules pop up in politics, and we've seen them in social projects. But what happens when these same principles expand to structure our entire economy, the very way we live and work? This whole idea has been on a wild journey. It all starts way back in the 1950s with this avant-garde art group called the Situationists. They practiced something called the derive, just aimlessly wandering through a city to uncover its hidden emotional landscape. Fast forward a few decades, and a company like Niantic grabs that artistic idea and turns it into a monetized game with Pokémon Go. And then Companies like Uber take that exact same model, guiding people through a city, and turn it into a form of precarious gamified work. And this leads us to a feeling that I think a lot of us might recognize. Living and working in this new platform economy can really feel like you're a player in some massive game, except you don't actually know all the rules, and they can change on you at any moment, and usually it's not in your favor. So, if our world is being structured more and more like a game, where does that leave us? The actual players. It really brings us to one final, absolutely crucial question. What's great is that the source material here doesn't just point out the problem, it gives us a really powerful call to action. The argument is that if these game mechanics can be used to control people or to confuse them, then creative people have a duty, a responsibility even, to challenge them, to interrupt the game. Which all leads to this one last big question. In a world that's built on these complex, often hidden rules, what is the single most powerful game mechanic that we as individuals actually have at our disposal? And the answer is just beautifully simple. It's the most basic, most fundamental game mechanic of all. It's the one that kicks off every new story, every invention, every new idea. The open question. What if? That's the tool that allows us to imagine different rules, different outcomes, and entirely different games for us to play. It's how we start to rewrite the world.